Hello, and welcome. Zombies. They're everywhere. We all love them. At least, that's what I'd imagine, since they're so common. But I have a confession to make. I don't really care for zombies. Why? Maybe it stems from being a teenager during the early 2010s when zombies were omnipresent. Seriously, I felt like everything was zombified. Don't get me wrong, I enjoy some zombie media. Shaun of the Dead is a masterpiece after all, but in general, it takes a lot to get me interested in zombies. So, when I heard that there is an anime coming out about a zombie apocalypse, I was only interested because of how much it was being hyped up. I didn't know anything about the source material, and the fact that it's a zombie anime already meant that it had some work to do to get me interested. So, how would I describe its first episode? Perfection. Zom 100, Bucket List of the Dead, would easily have the best first episode of the year if it wasn't for Oshi no Ko. And you should join me as I continue my journey to discover the perfect anime. First impressions are everything. In that brief moment, whoever you're meeting will know exactly who you are and what you're like. And this also applies to anime. Don't get me wrong, I enjoy when an anime gets good and keeps building throughout the series, but first impressions are extremely important. ReZero has an extended first episode, and by the end, you know exactly what kind of series you're getting into by just how hard it hits. Would Attack on Titan have gripped as many people as it did if its beginning wasn't as gruesome and brutal as it was? And the aforementioned Oshi no Ko premiere episode shocked the world partly due to its movie-length runtime allowing it to have so many incredible twists. So, with all that being said, what does this zombie anime do to separate itself from other zombie apocalypses? Does it focus on the survival and characters like The Walking Dead? Is it a parody of the genre like Shaun of the Dead? Does it feature high-octane action and teamwork like Left 4 Dead? Well, this episode doesn't have any zombies in it for about half of its runtime. Akira Tendo is a 24-year-old wage slave who's basically already dead. 3 years prior, after graduating college, he landed himself a job at the company of his dreams. Cheerful co-workers, a pleasant work environment, a work crush, all doing what he was capable of. Everything was going to plan, and the night of his first day of work, he and his co-workers went out to celebrate, and then went back to work. That right there is the face of a man who may not realize it yet, but has just witnessed the opening to the gates of hell. He doesn't come back home until 2 days later, and even then, all he can do is collapse. At this office, time off, decent work hours, reasonable workloads, these are all concepts, too fantastical to even imagine. Days become blurred, as his life, his entire existence, becomes work. Everything he thought he knew about the office unravels its ugly truth before his eyes. His coworkers are all cynical and jaded. The work environment is a prison. His crush is his boss's slam piece, and he gets to listen to it all. Day in, but without day out, Akira continues his existence, not his life. As after 3 years of this, he is a broken man, a shell of his former self, locked away from the outside world, forgetting what living really is. Until one day, when he goes to see his landlord, he finds out that they've become a zombie. Akira has the natural reaction to this: excitement. Hordes of zombies chase after the man, but Akira wouldn't have it any other way. The city around him is crumbling, society is breaking, the masses around him are dying, but Akira's never felt more alive. He runs outside for what feels like the first time in decades, now that he's realized what this truly means. That he doesn't have work that day. His first day off in 3 years straight. After going through what he experienced for that entire time, he's never been more excited for something, anything, to happen than this moment right now. He immediately wants to do something he's only dreamed about, confessing his love to his work crush. He runs over to her apartment and finds his boss, that worthless leech, has already been zombified. Facing him, he activates his inner one for all and shoves him off the apartment balcony. But as he turns his head, he sees his crush. His reason for existence for the past 3 years has become a zombie too. Following the weirdest confession I've ever seen in an anime, she chases him down like the sack of warm meat that he is. The episode ends with Akira having survived the day's events, finding himself at an abandoned konbini. He buys a pen and a notebook and begins writing down his bucket list, the 100 things he wants to do before he becomes a zombie. This is Zom 100, and this is his bucket list of the dead. Now, what makes an episode like this so great, so incredible, is one word: relatability. Now, I love Demon Slayer and other battle shonen, don't get me wrong, but I'm never going to fight a demon, as far as I know. And while it's entertaining to watch, I'm not going to relate to fighting literal demons. I'm not going to be in a zombie apocalypse either, zombies are fictional. But what I can relate to is having a job that utterly sucked the life out of me. Now, I was not in the same situation that Akira was in. However, several years ago, I did have a job that made me a shell of what I was before. It was legitimate torture going in and clocking in every day, 6 days a week. And I only worked at that job for 5 months. But in that time, I grew to resent my customers, despise my boss, and dread every day that I had to go into that place. When you're in a situation like that, you don't get much sleep, you don't have a real social life, you no longer feel human, and instead feel like your only reason for existence is to make metrics. Even if your situation isn't as extreme as Akira's, it really eats away at your livelihood and your health until you feel completely hollow inside. And despite how attractive it may seem to remain employed than face the alternative, no one should have to go through with being treated that way. I left my old company years ago, but if I hadn't, then I would have never made this channel. I didn't even have the energy to go outside when I wasn't working most days. Zom 100 isn't anti-work, it's anti-exploitation. And I know I'm not the only one that this series has resonated with. I love Japan. I recently went on a trip to visit it this year, but I do have friends who have been living there and have told me that, unfortunately for many people, the companies that Akira works for are not an exaggeration. Some people really would look at a zombie apocalypse with excitement compared to having to go into the office the next day. While these offices might be productive, it shouldn't be at the cost of the well-being and health of its employees. So I understand why an anime and manga like this exists. And for what it's worth, the studio did an amazing job with the production of this episode. This anime is being made by Studio Bug Films, known for Ants. Actually, just kidding. This is their first ever production. But wow, what an entrance. This series is already starting off with a movie quality first episode. During the entire time you're watching Akira's past, the episode has these theatrical black bars and slowly gets more and more desaturated as time goes on. Though when the zombies appear, that's when the color comes back into Akira's life. Literally. Heck, I love how vibrant and even attractive this setting looks, despite being the end of the world. It looks more like he's in Splatoon. When Akira finally smiles for the first time in years, you smile too. And it's not like he's oblivious either. His bucket list is ridden with the full understanding that he's eventually going to become a zombie. And now, he's given his chance to live life to the absolute fullest, without any regrets. I can't wait to see what lies in store for this anime. I'm already hooked one episode in, and despite this being the studio's first production, I'm confident that Zom 100 is in good hands. My rating for Zom 100 Bucket List of the Dead is a 9 to 5 out of a 30-minute unpaid lunch break. From its relatability, compelling MC, beautiful visuals, I can tell this is going to be a wild and creative series that actually gets me excited for zombies for the first time in probably forever. It is without a doubt bringing us one step closer to finding the perfect anime. And if you enjoyed this video, then be sure to subordinate for more zombie supervisors. And be safe out there, since if a zombie apocalypse does happen, you'd at least want to be one of the ones making the most out of it.